right, family, it's Tasha, MamabearPrepping. You already know what time it is. Get your drink, pull up. Let's get into it. So we kind of already know that panic buying is going to ensue soon. It's already happening in certain parts of the country. But the more we move forward with things, we know that panic buying is going to happen. History repeats itself. We already know this. The panic eventually is going to set in. I originally thought, hey, it's going to happen because the supply chain, okay? And it would continue to move in that direction. But I think that it's going to be moved up much sooner because of what's going on with the current variant and stuff, okay? What I want to talk to you today is a romantic fantasy, right? A notion, right? And talk about people that panic buy and get the things, and panic buying versus real survival, long-term survival. You know, there's a lot of channels, to include this one, that talk all day long about lists and get this thing and stack food, stack water, get this gadget, get this generator, make sure you have batteries, make sure you have this, make sure you have that, right? And although those things are very important, okay, to making your life much better during, let's say, some kind of crisis, some kind of event, some kind of grid down situation, short-term storms, that type of thing, it's amazing, okay? And so you should get those things, okay? Because it will make life easier for you when you come across emergency crisis, okay? That's what it's for, okay? But there is this, people don't understand that stuff will not take you through the long-term game, right? Long-term survival is going to be dependent on so much more than your ability right now to have, you know, a generator and to have extra batteries and to stack food. That stuff's important, okay? But that is eventually going to come to an end, okay? I'm going to tell you, survival is more than the gadgets and the gear, okay? It's more than the preps that you buy, right? The generator that you buy, the buddy heater, those things are things of convenience and to make a situation, a hard situation, much easier to deal with, okay? Because, you know, nobody wants to go through a hurricane or go through some sort of storm and freeze to death or starve to death, right? So we stack food to be prepared, right? And I still want you to do that, but I want you to start thinking about the long-term game, okay? What happens when the food runs out, right? What happens when, one, the food runs out on the shelves because of panic buying, okay? The food then later on runs out from your home. Whatever you had in your home is starting to dwindle. And this could be immediate, within a month, because you didn't have enough. This could be within 3 months, 6 months. This happens, you guys, and will happen even for the hardest of hardcore preparedness folks, okay? You know, let's just say you're hardcore and you have 5 years worth of food stacked up. The point I'm trying to make is eventually 5 years goes by and you get to the end of the cycle of that food, you guys. And that's what I want you to think about. So this applies to everybody. Do not think because you have 5 years worth of food that you are golden, because if you don't have these other things, you could absolutely starve to death once that food runs out, okay? You know, what do you do when the gear that you bought breaks? You know, there is no more shop that you can take it to and have it fixed, and you have a piece of either a gear, a car, some sort of mechanical thing, a solar, something, and it breaks, okay? What do you do when the fuel runs out? There's no more fuel, and the fuel that you've had stacked up is gone. Or we're so far into an event, there's no more gas. There's no more gas to be siphoned. There's no more butane, propane. You can't find any of that stuff. It's gone. So what's the game plan after that, okay? What happens when the water runs out? I say all the time, stack water. You need to have water in your home for a short-term emergency crisis. You've got to have water in your home, okay? But it goes way beyond that, okay? What do you do possibly if something happens, we lose electricity and we never get it back? It's one thing to go through a small crisis, even a couple weeks with no power. or a month or 2 months without power. To me, those are all very, very manageable, and you can make life very easy in a situation like that. But I'm talking long term, okay? We get hit by a major CME, takes out the grid, and you're talking about years without power, okay? Or something even crazier where it's decades, okay? So no power. What's the game plan? How do you survive long term for that when you're no more batteries, okay? You don't have your lanterns, you don't have the fuel for lanterns, you don't have power for anything. What are you doing now to prepare and be successful in the long-term game without that? Meds. What do you do when the meds run out? Okay. You stockpile. You guys have enough for a few years for your family, but then that runs out. What do you do? Okay. Or something happens. It doesn't even have to be, you guys, that something runs out, right? The time goes by and it runs out. Maybe marauders come and clean you out right away, and therefore you don't make it. You spent all this time getting this stuff, and then it is taken from you, or your place burns down, or something happens, violence happens, and you don't even get to use that stuff. What is the game plan for long-term survival? Okay. There's things that you need to do and know how to do to be able to make it, because the things are not going to be necessarily what makes you survive. Yes, short term, maybe even a little bit longer term, but I'm talking about end game. You're going to need a little bit more. Okay. So let's talk about panic buying for a minute. People that panic buy, you guys, are not preppers, right? The panic buyers are the people that see a situation and all of a sudden panic that situation is going to have a cause and effect where the shelves are going to be cleaned out, or they're going to panic that they're not going to be able to get something. Now, the supply chain is enough right now to scare me, or to scare people, that you should be stacking. You should be stacking hardcore, okay? Not panicking, not going out and buying $3,000 worth of food, at one time. Just slowly stacking your food up and keeping a stockpile, okay? But you're going to have people that are going to panic. Those people are people that don't have anything at home or know that they don't have enough. They're going to panic and they're going to go buy whatever they can get their hands on. Granted, they're going to then have that stuff, but that stuff is only going to last them so long. And then those people that panic to go get the food, their panic is going to turn into a different type of panic, which is a violence, which is a where can they get this stuff from now that they couldn't panic buy from a store anymore. Okay. And so the game changes a lot. And this has to do with survival. Okay. So panic, do you want to be panic buying type of person, or do you want to be this person that is prepared, right, with the things so that initial wave you can make it through? But then you need to be working on what you can work on now to help the long game. So let's talk about that. Things that matter: skills, knowing how to do something, having a trade, knowing how to, cook your own food, sew stuff up, fix yourself up medically. What is it, the skill that you know how to do? Are you a good hunter? Are you a good gatherer? Do you know how to, are you good at security? Like, what are you good at? Because that's the stuff that's going to get you through and that you're going to be able to lean on, and that's going to matter. Okay. 2 is knowledge, knowing how to do CPR, okay, is amazing. Knowing how to do basic bushcraft stuff, build a shelter, build a basic shelter, light a fire, simple things like that. That knowledge of how to do things is going to be important. Knowledge goes a lot further too. And I'm going to talk about some of these a little bit further, deeper down. But for example, knowledge in renewable resources, right? When the fuel runs out, right? When the matches and the lighters and all this stuff runs out, where can you find this renewable source? How are you staying warm? How are you finding, is it wood? How are you getting that wood? How are you procuring that wood? How are you getting water? How are you getting food, right? How are you getting these things, these renewable resources, right? You have a solar grid and you have the backups to be able to keep that going, but maybe there was a CME that doesn't work anymore. Okay. What do you have going? Did you build a gasifier? Maybe you have that, and that's a way to get something to work. I don't know. But the point is, you need to know how to get renewable resources. You need to be able to get food, hunt, and stuff like that. You need to be able to grow food and know how to grow food. You need to know how to find water, make it safe. Okay. So renewable resources. If it's cold, where are you getting wood? How are you getting the wood? How are you chopping down the wood? All this stuff matters, okay? So renewable resources. 3, I have gardening, right? How to grow food. This is extremely important, and you need to know, I think it's very important to know how to do this indoors and outdoors. That matters, okay? Because depending on what happens, all right? Preserving food, okay, in all different ways, that knowledge of knowing how to take something and make it last, it does you no good if you stumble across and accidentally are able to catch a couple rabbits or catch a deer, and you're lucky to do that. You're blessed with this deer, and then you do not know how to keep that meat so that you guys don't get sick and so that it will last and you could eat the entire deer. Okay, that's a problem. You're going to come across people who know snippets and know things and don't know how. They're either not going to be able to catch that deer, period, or they catch the deer, but they don't know how to gut the deer. They don't know how to skin the deer, okay, safely. You can get sick by not knowing how to do that properly, you guys. Maybe don't know how to cook off grid, don't know how to cook it up, okay? And then don't know how to, save and protect the meat after the fact, whether that's protect it from other people, protect it from other animals, or protect it from going bad, okay? You've got to understand these things and learn these. So preserving food, water procurement, and making it safe. You're gonna have, water's gonna run out. The day of trying to find a water bottle, okay, that is, something that's full of water and being able to just drink it. Even if you stack water, eventually that comes to an end, okay? Rainwater, great. If you're somewhere where there's rainwater and you're actually able to catch that, but you're still going to want to be able to filter it and make it clean, okay? I filter and clean all water. I don't care where it comes from, okay? You're not going to be able to trust water. You're going to need to know where to get it from. Depending on what happened will depend on if water is even safe, okay? To even think about, you've got all types of stuff, radiation, all types of stuff that you might have to worry about down the road depending on what happens, okay? I talked about this one a little bit, but security, right? Those people that are, from the military or have the natural ability of navigation, security, patrols, how to fire, a defensive tools, how to clean them, those things. That is a skill that's going to be important, okay? Because you're going to have to, if anything long-term happens like this, the number one skill you need to have is to be able to stay alive and stay safe and be able to battle bouts of violence, okay? And that's a big deal. So having the skill of security is a big deal. Number 7, I put bushcraft. So I talked a little bit about this, right? Knowing your basics of fire, and cooking over a fire, and doing a basic shelter, being able to take what is around you and build up something, okay? Another thing I have is handheld tools, right? These are the things that are going to make it longer, right? If it's grid down or it's any kind of long-term situation where it's a total collapse, long-term survival is going to depend on the tools you have. Do you know how to use them? So having the proper gardening tools and plows and rakes, having, saws to do trees, and, because possibly if you don't have, battery ran stuff, you don't have generators, you don't have electricity, tools and being able to use those tools are going to be very, very important. Okay. Next thing I have is, I touched on this, but understanding world-ending events and how certain things will affect us as a world, okay? Nuclear attacks. The reason why that's so dangerous, it's not even the fact of where, if you happen to be where the fireball is, obviously you're toast. But a lot of people will tell you you're toast anyway. And it's because those people understand the ramifications and what happens after an attack like that, okay? That is detrimental to our land, okay? Our soil, okay? You're talking about decades, maybe longer, of not being able to grow food outside, okay? You're talking about other nuclear plants, melting down. If we get hit with a CME, a significant CME or EMP attack, you're talking about nuclear plants melting down and you're talking about radiation with all of this across the board, you're talking about heavy radiation. You can be states and states or countries away and still be affected by radiation and dirty rain and not being able to grow crops. And if you make it deformity, all types of stuff, okay? Hardcore, stuff going on with your body. And so that's why you hear people say, hey, if that happens, it doesn't matter. We're all toast. Okay. But to make it, we're talking about the long-term goal. It's not about the things. It's about the long-term goal and your knowledge and your skills and what you know about world-ending events to hopefully be able to help you and your family know what direction to go, literally which direction to migrate to, if that's even a thing, if that's even possible. Okay. But you're still going to be battling uphill against very significant problems, okay? And so it is going to 100% take your knowledge and what you understand about that type of event that is even going to give you, a small chance of making it. Number 10 is community. So community is going to matter. You're not going to be able to just solo dog it. Community and making it together is going to matter in the long-term game, right? Can a solo wolf guy make it? Yeah, yes, of course you can. But community is how you do that long-term. And that's because you take all these things I'm talking about and you put them together, and that's what makes a group successful, right? Having that group with the different skills and the different knowledge sets and bringing those together with a common end goal of you guys surviving, okay? And that you guys understand that you need each other to survive, okay? 11, survival knowledge. So again, I touched a little bit of this already on, but basic, Boy Scout, Girl Scout, knowing your basic stuff is very, very important, okay? And then I have medical crisis, being able to battle that, right? What do you do when there's no more hospitals, there's no more doctors, there's no more nurses around you, and you come down with something? You have an ailment, you either hurt yourself or you come down with an ailment, and you're trying to figure out how to make yourself feel better without having, conventional over-the-counter meds or vitamins or whatever. You can't find any of that stuff. So you should be preparing now with your holistic stuff, your tinctures, your different plants. Be planting stuff. Be planting your, natural antibiotic type plants and herbs and stuff. Get that stuff, because one day the meds are going to run out and you're not going to have that. And if you don't have any kind of knowledge or books or skill set in the realm of holistic stuff, and knowing now what your backups are of the already known ailments, but even getting sick, having the medical supplies, having the first responder type knowledge to help simple things, right? You fall down and you cut yourself pretty severely. You have to know how to bandage yourself up and be okay to where that does not get, one, you don't bleed out, two, you don't get infected. Those things will take you out and you'll die, right? And so if you don't have that skill set to be able to help yourself medically, you're not going to make it, okay? And then the last thing I have is, what do you do the day the ammo runs out? And defensive tools you can't find. You've got to have somebody or know, how to clean that stuff, how to build that stuff and put stuff together, how to make, your own ammo. You just got to be thinking that, look, at the end of the day, the things, they matter and they help, right? Gear and stacking food and water and getting the preparedness items, it absolutely does help, okay? But I want you to not think, hey, I'm going to get these things and now I'm good. Mentally, you need to be thinking that, okay, I got these things, and yes, it is. I'm way more calm. I'm less stressed out, anxiety about what's going on in the world. I'm ready to go if a crisis comes my way. However, you need to be thinking about the long-term game. There is a huge difference between those folks that panic buy and just try to get something quick, and people who understand that real survivalist is long-term. Like, that's the long game. You can't just, I'm going to stack food and water and I'm fine. You need to understand the day that stuff runs out, and what you're doing the day you have to leave that apartment or leave that home, or maybe you don't leave, right? But how do you continue to survive there without the stuff you stacked, right? You're out of meds, you're out of water, out of food. What are you doing now to be able to stay there and live and survive, okay? Because that's the real game, you guys, of preparedness. And I get it. This video probably might not even get that many, views, because it has to do with real preparedness. But there's a lot of things you can do right now, and all that stuff I just discussed, that you can work on now. Okay, you can take classes now and learn skills. You can get the books that you need that will help you, walk you through how to do things. Okay, learn basic medical skills, right? Learn basic preserving food, hunting, foraging, that type of thing, right? Figure out now where you would get water, get all the things to be able to filter it. But no, when those filters have filtered their amount of water and they're no longer good, you need to know how to filter water naturally using natural resources. How do you filter water using natural resources to ensure that it is safe to drink, okay? Because someday the Berkey filters are going to be used, you guys, and all the other filters and fancy life straws and all that stuff will have gone through their uses, and they will no longer be any good, okay? And so you need to know how to filter water in the wild, okay? You need to know how to do that, all right? How do you boil water if you don't have an actual pot, right? What could you use around you to fashion to be able to boil some water or filter some water? That's important, okay? And those are the type of skills I'm talking about, that, those are the people that are going to make it and survive, okay? Because a lot of people are going to be okay, we're going to be okay for a little bit, but then the minute they run out of stuff, they will become the panic people. It just will be in a different setting, and they will panic because they're running out of stuff. And when you panic, you make very, very bad decisions, okay? And then your game will be over. It will be over for you. So that was a lot. I hope that you guys enjoyed that video. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think about this video. What do you guys think about, the idea that, there is a lot of people who focus on the things and getting the things and don't ideally think about the long term. And the long term is the hardcore stuff. That's the hard stuff that it really takes a lot for you, effort for you to really concentrate on it. Otherwise, it's very easy to be like, well, I'm stacking food and I'm fine. I don't know that you're fine. I think you're fine and you'll be fine for a while. But what are you going to do, and what skill set do you have to continue to put food, on the table for your family the day that the last can is opened up? Okay? So I'll see you guys tomorrow in the next video. Take care. Bye.